Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're tackling something that I think a lot of us have probably wondered about at some point. We had a listener write in asking about what it really means to bless the Lord. Like, how do we actually do that? And especially when life throws those curveballs our way?
Yeah, great question. And it's so interesting because the sources we're looking at this time around actually touch on that exact point. Praising God in all circumstances. They really emphasize this idea of recognizing and celebrating his goodness and love and power, kind of like a constant state of awe and appreciation.
Sounds beautiful in theory,
Right.
but
Right.
how do we actually live that out? I mean, blessing the Lord, it sounds kind of formal, right?
Definitely. And it's easy to get caught up in thinking it's just about like saying the right words or something.
Yeah, like bless you after someone sneezes.
Exactly. But our sources are pointing to something way deeper. Think of it more as a way of life, a heart posture that just naturally overflows with gratitude and praise.
So how do we get there? What does that actually look like in, everyday life?
Well, one of the things these sources really highlight is this contrast between blessing and cursing the Lord.
Whoa, okay, cursing the Lord. That sounds kind of intense. Like, are we talking about, swearing?
Not exactly. The sources are using that term to describe actions that basically go against recognizing God's goodness. It's like instead of praising that magnificent waterfall we were talking about before, you're turning your back on it or even throwing rocks at it.
I get you. So it's less about the words we're saying and more about how we're living our lives.
Exactly. And the sources actually get pretty specific about what kinds of actions fall under this cursing category. They talk about disregarding God's love, disparaging his power, and neglecting his presence.
Okay, those are some pretty big concepts. Can we break them down a little? What does it actually mean to disregard God's love?
Yeah, that's a good one to unpack.
I mean, what does that even look like in practice?
Think about it this way. Imagine you're going through a really tough time. Maybe you get some bad news about your health or you lose your job, something that really shakes you.
Uh-huh.
Now, if your first instinct is to spiral into despair and isolation, and you kind of push God away instead of leaning into his love and trusting his plan, well, the sources suggest that could be seen as a form of disregarding his love.
Oh.
Especially when you need it the most,
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like we're rejecting the very comfort and support he offers.
Exactly. And, it's easy to do, right? When we're hurting, our natural reaction is often to pull away.
Absolutely. So what about disparaging his power? What does that look like?
Well, in a nutshell, that's when we start putting limits on what God can do.
Okay.
It's like saying God can't handle this or he doesn't care enough to help me. We're basically putting him in a box, diminishing his might.
Yeah, we're kind of acting like we know better than him.
Exactly. It's like standing at the edge of the Grand Canyon and being like, meh, this is a big ditch,
Okay.
You're totally missing the majesty and the wonder of it all.
So we're missing the point and the power. Okay, last one. Neglecting his presence. What's that all about?
This is where we start living our lives as if God's distant or irrelevant. We try to compartmentalize our faith and forget that he's with us every step of the way. It's like having this amazing, constant, loving companion, but choosing to just ignore them and go about your business.
Wow. So it's like we're almost forgetting to breathe. He's just there. Okay, so how do we start to shift gears then? Move away from that cursing mindset and really embrace this whole blessing thing.
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And the sources, they actually offer some really practical advice on this. They talk a lot about cultivating a heart of praise and thanksgiving regardless of our circumstances. They even use this beautiful imagery of starting and ending each day with songs of praise.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's about making gratitude a regular part of our lives.
Exactly. It's about making a conscious effort to acknowledge God's goodness, even in the small things. Like maybe when you wake up in the morning, you take a moment to just be thankful for the sunrise or for your breath or for the people in your life.
Yeah.
And as you go through your day, try to find those little moments to just pause and appreciate the blessings around you. It's about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already have. It's almost like training a muscle,
And the more we do it, the easier it becomes to see the good.
Exactly.
Like we're building this fortress of joy that can weather any storm.
I love that. It's so true. And there's actually a lot of research out there that shows how practicing gratitude can actually rewire our brains to focus on the positive. It can lead to reduced stress and anxiety and increased happiness and overall well-being.
So it's not just about spiritual well-being. It actually impacts our mental and emotional health too.
Absolutely. It's about living in a constant state of awe and appreciation, acknowledging the amazingness of God even when things are tough. It's about choosing faith over fear, hope over despair, and love over indifference.
So to wrap things up, it seems like blessing the Lord is less about saying the right words and more about living a life that reflects His goodness. It's about recognizing His love, His power, and His constant presence, and responding with gratitude and praise no matter what life throws our way.
Yeah. And steering clear of those actions that contradict His love.
Right. Avoiding that cursing mindset
Right.
and remembering, like you said, that He's with us every step of the way. This has been such a thought-provoking conversation. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. And hey, before we go, here's a little something to ponder.
Okay.
What's one small shift you can make today to more fully embody this idea of blessing the Lord? Maybe it's starting a gratitude journal or incorporating more praise into your prayers or just simply pausing to acknowledge His presence in the midst of chaos.
That's a great challenge to leave our listeners with. Thanks again for joining us for this deep dive.
Of course.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.